Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Five Boys in a Business, a podcast where we talk about the business, the family, and the many shenanigans involved. We are here most Mondays, late morning, and you can find us on any of the podcast channels or where you consume podcasts. So don't forget to check out the merch store at asvcmerch.com. And I'm Emily King.
I'm Richie King.
And we have Harrison back there behind the ones and twos. And we're here for another exciting episode. Five Boys in a Business. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Tracy Wells for sending me a carrot cake recipe.
Oh.
I did not have the energy nor all of the ingredients in order to make said carrot cake last week. So I took the lazy way out and went and bought one at
Taylor Bakery.
Taylor Bakery. Okay, let's be honest. I didn't go buy it. You went and bought it, but I ordered it. And it was pretty good. But I'm very anxious to make the recipe
I don't know, that one from
Tracy
Taylor's
Wells sent
pretty
me.
good.
I don't know. Hers looks really good because you have pineapple in it.
Oh.
So I think it's going to be really good. So I'm going to make it hopefully this weekend. So thank you for the recipe. I really appreciate it. I think we had somebody else send us one too. Didn't we, Harrison? A recipe? Was it just Tracy's recipe? So anyway, yeah. Harrison's birthday went off without a hitch.
Yep.
And
Big 2-4.
dinner went down. We had dinner and
That's not we had tenderloin?
yep.
Yeah. That was a mad scramble. That was the night that live in infamy.
Why?
Well, that was the night that we had the backup.
Oh. I mean, that was the
lots
night.
and
No, that
lots
was
of
the night
things.
before that night.
No, it wasn't.
That was the night.
No.
Everything goes wrong.
Because pretty much everything was going wrong. That's probably a pretty accurate impression.
I'm like, I think there's water coming up in the drain in the basement.
Oh, there was no thinking. It was obvious.
And then I was like, I wonder if it comes when you flush the toilet from the upstairs. And then I flushed the toilet.
No. What happened was I went down to the utility room for some reason, and we had kind of backstory. We've had a wet spot on the carpet for very random. That doesn't seem to be connected to anything. It didn't seem to be connected to anything.
Right.
I had a plumber kind of come out and look at it, and he said you may have holes in the pipe such that when you have rain or snow melt, that it backs up. He said we could put a drain on there, a two-way valve. Basically, it lets things in, doesn't let things out. So I was down there. And it hadn't happened in a while. I was like, I have no idea. It didn't seem to be connected to the bathroom that's next to it or any of that stuff.
Right.
So anyway, I happened to be walking into the utility room that night and turned around and looked at the drain, and there was water pool. I was like, "Here, okay, we have a problem." My experience with rentals is that when that happens, it's a mainline problem.
Right.
So Emily said, "You were like, hey, let's go see if it happens. What happens when we should flush the toilet?" And sure enough, it would go down, and you flush the toilet, and it'd come back up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, gosh darn it. I mean, because everything was going wrong. I mean, I did multiple things, happen that day. And it was like 9 o'clock at night. And I said, got to call Roto-Rooter. Got to call them. I mean, because you can't use any of the plumbing upstairs.
No one's going to be able to use the plumbing at all.
Well, you couldn't. I'm not kidding. I mean, so you can't take
Cats and
showers.
dogs living together.
You can't.
The
Yeah, but you
sky is
can't.
Falling. It's going to be horrible.
The-
Nothing could happen. No one touch a toilet or a sink until morning. It was bad. Very, very bad.
Okay. Yes,
And then
it
I
was
said,
bad.
let's
When you have
call
raw
Roto-Rooter.
sewage coming up in the basement, it's
And
bad.
then I said, let's call Roto-Rooter. I
No.
originally
Wait,
said,
I said no.
You said. So then I said, just wait till morning. It'll be fine. And that's when then the whole, when it happened. And then you said, call Roto-Rooter. And I said, okay, I'll call Roto-Rooter.
Okay.
So I call Roto-Rooter and they say, which they picked up right away, which
back
was really
up.
helpful.
When your main sewage line is blocked, you can't use any plumbing. You can't take a shower. You can't wash dishes. You can't flush the toilet. So, hence the urgency. So yes, proceed.
Then I called Roto-Rooter and they were very helpful. And
You
then
said come tomorrow morning. I was like, no, you come tonight.
the person said, they could be there between 9:45 and 1:45. And I said that to you, and you're like, what? 1:45? I guess I'll stay up. And so
Your impression of me is not correct. I mean, so not correct.
and I was like, I'll stay up. I don't care. And then
Someone said,
They
promptly
live like-
goes up and gets in bed.
they live like 3 miles away. Okay. I mean, it was like 3 miles away, which was really
Oh,
convenient.
he was there in half an hour.
Yeah, because he was there in half an hour. I had a feeling that was probably going to be the case. And so, because they were located like right there or
Right.
whatever. And so then we hang up. That guy calls back. He comes in and he's Japanese, right? Was that it?
I think. I don't know. I
And
have no idea.
and so he had this huge machine, right?
Well, back up. He and I went down and looked at the basement, and he said, "Oh, where's your main?" He goes, "It's best if it's outside." I was like, "Well, I don't have one outside, so I guess I know that's best practice, but don't have one. So
Yeah, because
how are we
his
gonna
house
fix
is
this?"
50 years old now at this point.
So and to kind of give a further context, since the neighborhood is older, there's a lot of mature trees that have been in people's front yards. So it's common to have people have to have their main line basically
Right.
replaced.
And
in
so
their
then they
front
put
yard.
those out there.
Yeah, they put them out there. That's how
Right.
so they don't have to come in the house. So anyway, he kept looking and he kept going, "Oh, that's not good." I was like, "Are you trying to justify this ginormous fee you're going to charge me? Because you have to have seen this before."
Right.
So we flushed the toilet downstairs. It didn't back up, and we flushed the toilet over and Holden's side didn't. So the blockage was somewhere before that. So he said, "I can't go in here." So it's so funny because there's a clean out behind the bar or underneath the bar, and I said, "I can cut a hole here. I've got an oscillating tool. I'll cut a hole in the side of the cabinet and just fix it at some patch it with something later." He goes, "Oh, can't do it. The machine's like 300 pounds." His voice kept trailing off every time he'd say this stuff. And I
So
go,
then he like freaking
"No," but I'm like, "Okay, what's the solution?" I was
Right.
like, "I'm not going to rip up the hole. There has to be a solution."
right.
And he goes, "It'd be best if we put your clean out here, but you have to go through drywall." I was like, "Yeah, we're not doing that either." So he said, "Well, I can pull the toilet upstairs." I go, "So you could snake it from the toilet?" He goes, "Yeah." And he didn't quite understand that the toilet I kept flushing was on the second level. I was like, "No, there's." So anyway, he goes upstairs and he pulls the toilet and brings this thing, and he goes,
I mean, that thing that piece of equipment was so heavy.
that was the smallest one he had.
Did he not let you help him? Because I felt
I don't
like
think so.
he was like, "Don't,
Well,
don't."
So I was having flashbacks when the dude came 10 years ago in 2010. And anyway, so he gets up there, pulls the toilet, snakes it, and he comes and he goes, "It feels like it's going over here. Will you go check and make sure it's not going into the master bathroom?" I was like, "Yeah." And it was obviously going down the wall. And it was like
Right.
100-foot snake, and he did it, and it was fine. I turned on the shower, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
So
kudos to him. He
$600
fixed it.
later.
He fixed it, but it was hilarious because you come in the bathroom and you were like, 'cause he was
God.
but yeah. So if anybody wants a house at 12329 Brookshire Berkeley,
All right.
we'd be happy to sell. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Harrison, this was 10 because they must have records. Because last time I called Roto-Rooter, he goes, "We haven't been here since 2010,"
Right.
and that's when we were doing the basement.
Oh.
And this guy, we hadn't put the bar in yet, but
Yeah.
everything was roughed in, and that's where the clean out was. And the guy was down there, and it was so funny because he had to bring this huge machine back up the steps. The steps didn't have carpet,
Ugh.
but he hurt his back. Every time he pulled, he was like, "Oh." Don't you remember that?
Yes, I
And I go,
do.
I'm like, "I'll help you, bro." And he goes, "You can't touch it. Insurance reasons." Like, "All right, good."
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. And meanwhile, in your defense, I'm like, "So we gotta call Roto-Rooter, but it's Harrison's birthday dinner tomorrow, and we need to get tenderloin, a carrot cake,
9:00 at
and-
night. 9:00 at night. I go, "Where are we gonna get a tenderloin? Because we have
Oh.
a tenderloin down there
that's right.
frozen."
We had the tenderloin. I'm gonna have to trim the tenderloin. It's gonna take them 45 minutes in the morning to trim the tenderloin.
Well, the question was, do you thought? I mean, it was just a mess. Everything was just a mess.
I forgot about the whole trimming
Ugh.
fandango. The
So I was
tenderloin.
like, "Call Joe's and order." So Emily called and got a rather expensive tenderloin that was fantastic, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. So
The
pretty
mustard
funny.
sauce was great. So
There
it
you
was.
go.
So yeah, it
And
all
look,
worked out.
it all was fine.
It all worked out.
See, it's all fine.
Now I know the solution. It's just annoying to have to fool
I
with
know
it.
you were just annoyed.
Everything was So
Anyway, it was funny.
So I was looking around. I was like, "I'm building a new house. I am not doing this ever again. This is bull crap. I don't care what it costs. I'm leaving."
That's when I was sitting in bed going, "Yeah,
That's
I'm
God's
selling
way of
this
saying divest.
place." "Oh gosh."
But
too
then
funny.
it's so funny. You always do that, and grass is always greener. You would have some issue.
some other issue.
Do you remember your parents when they had?
Oh my God! Remember when that flooded in
the West
basement?
Clay?
Yeah.
Because weren't they away and they came back. Oh, the
Yeah.
stump pump failed.
Yeah.
And they
It
came
was
back. And I was like,
something.
"Oh," because it was a brand new house.
They had to have all that drywall repair.
Oh, that was upstairs. They had
Or
two
something.
things.
Yeah.
In the basement, they had the it just got the carpet wet. I mean, it was annoying for them, I'm sure. But then they had it was a furnace. It was a furnace plug or something that wasn't put in
Tight or
correctly,
something?
and it messed up all the drywall and the wall where the fireplace was.
Oh, okay.
I remember we walked in there and they had plastic draped all over the place. I'm like, this must suck. This place is brand new.
Yeah, that does. So
Oh
yeah,
God,
you're right.
what a mess. So there's always issues, I guess.
There's
the point.
always issues.
Comes out sometimes the devil you know is better than the one that you don't. So
Yep.
but yeah, so I'm reminded because we're having this other work done. We're having some trim put in of our mudroom, and I was talking to Scott today, and the guy that does the work for us, and I said, and I was reminded of how I probably didn't do things nearly as correctly as I thought I did all those years
did
ago.
Scott say?
Well, nothing, but I'm like, he's gonna open up that wall and go, yeah, there's a rag in that thing right there.
I think there is.
That's definitely not right.
Oh gosh, that's too funny.
Anyway, so
yeah,
I have a rule now. Just do it right. Do it, one time and that's it.
Well, I think
measure twice, cut once.
You were doing things what you thought was right before. You just learned more.
Which is a fake wall. That's why I don't think I was like, hey, you can pull this down. It's not like
because the beadboard's just
it's
over
like
the top.
just pull it.
Yeah.
It's because we restudded. It's a fake wall. It's not. It's not anyway. So a decorative wall. So that's it.
There's that.
The travails of remodeling.
Yep.
So that's it.
And spring is definitely shaping up to be warmer than it's supposed to be, which I'm not complaining. So
God, me either.
Whoever said that, who passed along that piece of information, whether it was true or not, I'm holding on to it.
What, the Farmer's Almanac?
I have no idea. Somebody just said that somewhere, and then I just
ran with it.
Yep.
It's been unusually warm for March. I'll take it.
It's been really nice.
Jeez, I'll take it. Do you remember, Indiana's so weird though, because I remember we went to a 500. The first one I went to was 95. And then we went to one like a year or two later. It was freezing. The 195 was burning up hot, just roasting up in the stands. And the next year, it was foggy, wasn't it? It was really foggy because we had sweatshirts on. And
yeah.
Missy came with bagels and stuff.
Yep.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
The weather changes on a dime.
It sure does.
Not so much in Tennessee, though. I don't remember that growing up. I mean, you'd have like rainy months and stuff, but it wasn't. During summer, it was hot.
It wasn't as unpredictable.
It was almost always hot. Never not hot during the summer. And my first memory of moving to Indiana was we moved to South Bend. And I remember thinking, it is so pleasant up here in May or June, whenever it was.
Yo, do you remember how cold it was when Harrison was a baby in July 4th that one year? We were wearing jackets and everything.
Where did we do July 4th at?
One of the people's houses at the clinic.
Was
and
it
was cold. It was freezing.
Yeah, it's that weather up there can be a little rough. I remember Mother's Day. It was his first Mother's Day. It was the lake, wasn't it? What was it? Didn't we go to Wawasee at that
No, his
restaurant?
first Mother's Day was down here at the Indiana Museum of Art, whatever. We went to
Must have been his second one then.
we went to lunch or something.
He was only a year old. He's still very little.
Yeah.
So it was cold. I remember that Mother's Day being really cold. So, but not so much in Tennessee. It gets pretty. What are you laughing at? So it's true.
Do you have when we were? I can't remember. I think it was the last week after all the craziness or madness, and you sent me that video of, because you said this is what I'm trying to man. Or
I said this is what I'm dealing with today. And
no, this is what I'm dealing with today. That's what you said.
So I mean, yes. I can, and anybody who watches or listens regularly knows that we've homeschooled Calvin since
a year ago.
Yeah, this COVID stuff hit. We tried to did we even try to do the school stuff? I think we looked at it as like, this is not going to work.
Yeah, I pretty much threw the towel in after a week.
Once we realized it was going to be permanent, I was like, let's just order the stuff we used to use. And, because that worked pretty well. But anyway.
Oh, also, Calvin got his glasses, and then, of course, he had his surgery. So he looks so cute.
Dropped a fair amount of coin on that little kid last week. Good God.
So this is
so anyway,
the video I got when I was at work.
So back up. So what we were doing was we were doing grammar, and we're talking about subject and predicates in sentences, and it's a cool way that it's a really neat way the way they teach it, because the subject is the naming part and the predicate is the action part. So it teaches the kids to separate the two. And he could not say predicate to save his life, and I was trying to break it down, and I didn't know what he said because I was trying to, and I was like, he just kept butchering it. And I was trying to break it and say predicate, and he just couldn't do it. And I took a video and sent it to him. I was like, this is what I'm dealing with today, because he has such a funny sense of humor.
So. Oh my God, he's got a funny sense of humor. Yes, he does.
We're what's the action part of a sentence?
Predic.
No, ready? Did. Cut. Predator what?
I thought that was so funny. Oh my god, it made my day.
What's the
when I
action
got
part
that.
of a sentence? No, ready?
He's trying not to laugh while he's talking.
Did. Cut. Predator what?
God,
Only a
bless
little
him.
boy would find that funny.
I
It's
know,
just
right?
hysterical.
Oh god.
And he wrote something. I didn't take a picture. He wrote something later on, like something was spelled it out. It was so funny. God, what a riot. He's just and
Yeah.
today we're doing math. It's so funny. And it's all subtraction with borrowing, just 2-column. So I look at it. He goes, "I'm done, Dad," and he like shoves the book over and goes, "This is something else." I look at the book. I'm like, "You added every one of these." The subtraction. There's a little sign there that means something. It was like 49 minus 21, 107. It's like, Jesus, criminy. And I was looking, I was like, okay, the silver lining of this, he can add.
He can add.
if it was a plus sign, awesome. So he's doing okay.
Oh my god, that was too funny. I was in, because Holden's going through confirmation this year, and I was in Mrs. Sanchez's fourth grade classes where we had the meeting.
Yeah.
Who I
Fourth
love.
grade now?
She's fourth grade, yeah.
Yeah.
Julie Sanchez. And I was reminded of like, okay, this is fourth grade, the end of fourth grade, because they were talking about common factors.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh God. I was like, common factors. I'm like, oh, that was Harrison.
This guy had a hard time with factors. I don't get it.
Oh gosh.
They didn't teach that. I was like, I think they probably taught it. You just weren't paying
Did you have
attention.
Mrs. Sanchez? No. You had Mrs. Bergeson. Fourth grade. That's right.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say,
In fourth grade? I don't remember who it was. Johnny had Mrs. Sanchez.
probably.
Or Holden. Somebody did. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
He's been there forever.
Anyway, I was like, oh, I need Calvin to have Mrs. Sanchez. I love Mrs. Sanchez.
Yeah, she's super nice.
Anyway,
All the teachers there were super nice.
but
There
I
were
was
never
like,
any teachers
oh,
that were
not
bad.
common factors. I was having flashbacks.
Well, the
It was
factor
like,
trees are
you
things
know,
that are hell.
Yeah.
You have to break like that was like
Yes.
64 and you have to take it down to twos. And one of the
Yes.
kids, I think it was either Harrison or Holden, I had trouble. And I'll give Holden props. When he put his mind to it, he never had any trouble. I mean, but it was just getting him past that hump of you have to do this. I mean, you're
Right.
capable of doing it, so let's just do it.
Yeah.
So Calvin, I don't look forward to the factor trees.
Yep.
Those are always a drag. You draw lines and circles and ugh.
Yeah.
Pain.
It's, yeah. I love math, but I don't like necessarily explaining it to somebody else.
What's so fascinating because you look at some of those things and you're talking. I'm assuming that goes to exponents and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, multiplication, division, all that. It is cool though how when you do it. When I was doing it with Johnny Holden and Trevor, how the concepts they teach in that classical method do all loop around, and it does start to make a lot of sense.
Yeah. As you add,
It's all
layers.
related.
Yeah.
I mean, so you'll say, oh, well, 2 times 4 is 8, and how that relates to the actual division. So it's kind of cool in that regard.
I just always loved math because you could always count on math. It always had an answer. It was never a subjective answer. It was always the answer. No matter who got the answer, it was the same answer. You could always rely on the fact that you could get it right. Whereas with English, it'd be like, interpret what the guy was saying in the poem. What was his meaning behind
It's like, I don't know.
second, verse of the whatever? And you make, it's like, well, this is what I think he said. And they're like, no, that's not what he was meaning. I was like, how do you know? Because he's dead now. So did he tell you before he died? I used to get so frustrated, like,
Right.
that somehow.
Well, it's funny because I had a problem when I was in law school making arguments because I'm such a quantitative based, like this is this is this is this.
Right.
I had the hardest time with that gray area. Say, well, it could be this, it could be this. Is this? It's like,
oh my God, no! It's either that's what math is great about math. It's this.
Right. It was that I remember
And if
thinking.
you practiced it enough, you could always get the answers right, and you could always check your work. So there was no reason you couldn't do well because.
Do you think? And this is a funny kind of an aside. Do you think that school? I've thought this for a while. That school still clings to that notion you need to be well-rounded and all that stuff, so they expose you to this and that and the other. When in fact you look back and you go, I guess, I don't know, does it really does it mean?
Well, I think after a certain age, it could be more like
No, what I'm
tunneled.
saying though, like, I mean, did it make you better to understand what that poem was?
Well, maybe if I was
Nope,
interested in
nope, it
English.
didn't.
Well, I'm just saying though. I mean, look at that stuff.
But, like,
and
if
go,
you
I
were a
don't,
writer, maybe. You know, I mean, like, maybe. I don't think it was wrong to expose
I
us
don't
to
think
that.
it's wrong. Anything's ever wrong. I just look and I think the value of, I don't know. I guess my point is that they still cling to this notion that you have to be exposed to all these things to give you a well-rounded liberal arts education. When in fact, most schools, like even when I was in college, 20 or plus years ago, the final 2 years are always very singular.
Yeah, but I think it depends on your major, and then I think it depends. I think that it would behoove somebody that was going to do biochemistry to maybe spend more time in just biochemistry than
Right. That's what I'm saying.
American history.
And if you want to be a writer, great, take those classes. But if you don't,
Right.
like, I don't need to take, like when I was in school, I was like, I don't need to take 2 semesters of French. I
Just don't need to do it.
I don't
Right.
need to do that. I mean, it doesn't give me anything.
Right.
It's a complete waste of time.
I think in high school it does, but I think once you get to the college level, I think
Right.
it's yeah.
Although I've read in this one lady's talking about reading. She said in the 60s they started this thing where you had to be conversational in foreign languages, and she said that's never what it was supposed to be. It was always supposed to be you could read it. So you need to be able to read it and interpret it, and versus speaking it. And she said, and I forget her exact argument. What she was saying was that to be able to read 3 or 4 languages is very different from being able to speak 3 or 4 languages. And
Right.
classically, you were meant to be able to write it, understand the written word much more than the spoken word.
Spoken word.
So, and I don't know. She was saying that the conversational method, they've clung to that for years, and it doesn't really teach you the language because
Right.
you're trying to conjugate this and all this stuff. I mean, the class, the thing that every kid runs into in Spanish, French, whatever, you go, why are we spending 2 months conjugating these verbs? I don't understand what any of it means.
Right.
How does this relate to what you don't do that in English.
Right.
I don't ever remember doing that in English. Do you? Different language.
I don't remember English. I stunk at English all the way around. I still stink at English. I know what I'm good at, and English is not one of them.
Well, it's funny because as I work with Calvin, I'll find these rules and I'll go, oh, I didn't know what that was. I just read a lot. It had to be that I just read a lot.
yeah.
And I just it sounds okay because I never learned those rules.
Well, that was a lot of it is, does this sound right? No, this does not sound right.
No, they have rules like
Right.
they have like where to use an, a.
Well, I know all those rules, but I mean,
Do you really? Because I don't know those.
no, like the rules you were talking about the other day about, you mentioned something about.
That was a dropping rule.
You
Like
don't
when
know
Oh,
those? You
the
don't
dropping.
know the A and?
you double a consonant and you double a consonant for ing depending on the suffix.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. I just learned how to spell, and that was just what I
Yeah.
did.
We
I-
probably
what were the
did learn
rules?
it, and maybe that's how we knew it.
There's not rules. It just sounds better.
Well, I know,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. I know if it sounds right, but there is a grammatical rule
Rule
that says
for
if
it.
this, then this.
Right.
And I never learned
I don't
that.
see that rule anywhere. So.
Maybe we'll start something on the podcast that's Richie's rules of
Of
the
grammar,
English
yeah.
language, and you can remind everyone for that.
Don't
Oh, there we go.
Don't listen to that if you want to succeed.
Richie's story time.
Yeah, although I will say, I do think that some of those, not learning those things probably affected my writing as an older person. Because I got into college, my writing was horrific. So
Yeah.
it's just still not great. But a lot of people's aren't great. I remember reading a book once, this guy was saying that if you work on your communication skills, your written and oral communication skills, or written specifically, almost no one is really good at effective writing.
Right.
It's a very difficult skill to learn, but you set yourself apart if you're good at it. Because there are so many times I would read things years ago. They would draft these consultation reports, and at Pricewaterhouse, you read them, it's like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what the point of this is.
Right.
And I find as I read more and more now that as an older person, you'll start reading an article and you go, you could have stopped after the first paragraph. You don't need to go through all this stuff.
Right.
So anyway.
Interesting. So March Madness is happening in Indianapolis. That's cool.
Yes, and we've
been watching some of the games.
we finished Last Chance U.
Oh yeah, finished last
That was
Chance
good.
U.
And it was funny to give a flashback to
Because that was just last year. So
yeah,
that
I
was
mean, not to give any
fascinating.
spoilers, but it ends at the series kind of ends when COVID begins. So the how quickly things changed in the month of March last year is it's a reminder when you watch the show to say, wow, within days it seems like every day for
Yep.
like 2 weeks.
Remember, there was that 2-week time period where it was like every day something was happening.
First they called off school, and then they're like, we don't know when we're coming back, or when, and then all this stuff. And then March Madness, and you like then 15 days is slow. I was like, the world coming to an end. I have expected to see an asteroid come streaking across the sky.
So they played the games yesterday were really good. There's a lot of teams that aren't typically in the tournament that are winning. So it's pretty cool.
I think I'm gonna make it. I'm not.
Oh
hates
boy,
the predictions here.
Here's your prediction.
I think that college football. I noticed this college football. It seemed kind of wonky and off. Like to your point about teams you wouldn't typically see. I think that it'll maybe take a season or 2 or 3 to kind of get back to a, you know what I mean, a typical.
I think SEC will be back to normal next year.
Yeah, probably.
I think they're going to be like, yeah, this didn't phase us from the standpoint of like the impact that all the badness that was going to happen from us playing football did not happen. So,
well, if you remember, the SEC is it Big 12, Big 10?
Big 10.
They're like, we're not going to have a season this year. And SEC was like, we'll take that. Thanks, though. We're going to have a season. We're playing for day one. And then after a few games and I mean, and all the everybody was watching those games.
Well, you already said that the Dallas Cowboys are open.
Yeah, Jerry Jones was like, we're not having restrictions. Thanks, though.
Yeah.
You want to come? Great. If not, don't come. Don't care.
Yeah.
So Texas, go big or go home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, there's some really cool teams that are in the tournament. So Harrison, do you have a favorite team? Did you pick somebody to win?
I did not fill out a bracket because I don't pay attention. But one of my good friends, Luke Hallett, actually did the pregame and postgame for the Florida Gators game.
Did he really?
Good for him.
Yes, he did.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
he's doing coverage for the March Madness tournament as we speak.
Oh my God.
Can I say something about brackets? As someone who's filled out a few brackets over the years, every time I look at it, I was like, you had better go buy a lottery ticket if you win this, because there are so many
Caveats. Yeah.
permutations. If this, it's just there's no way to.
There are 0 perfect brackets right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of teams like what's the team that I'm thinking of that upset? It was a 16 seed.
Oh, it was
Loyola.
Oral Roberts, wasn't it?
I don't
Ohio
know.
State.
Oral Roberts. Yeah.
Well, Madeline was talking about. Yeah, she was over before you got home.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, Oral Roberts was or beat Ohio State. And I was like, really? And I go, you know, who Oral Roberts was, right? And she goes, no. And she goes, I said, he was a famous televangelist in the
preacher.
50s.
Yeah.
And there was a running joke when I was a kid, before CDs and all that crap. They're like, yeah, I bought an Oral Roberts album and the hole in the middle healed up because he was known for healing people. But it's a religious, it's like, it's a Christian university.
All right.
So when she said that, I was like, really? I didn't even know they. So anyway.
So it's exciting for schools like that. I think that's fun
that is
to
cool.
bring attention to schools like that because they are playing good basketball, and I think sometimes they get forgotten.
Yeah, because you have the powerhouses that win. You know, they're at the top every year.
And that's the one thing that I really love about basketball is that you can have, a team just below like the best players and beat the best players because it only requires certain things to happen in order. You're much more likely to have that happen than like a football, than like Alabama getting beat by Oral Roberts. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's not going to happen. There's too many
That
places.
would be a miracle.
But in basketball, that can definitely happen.
Right.
And so, and there are a lot of reasons probably why, but so I think that's why people like it so much because you do always want to root for the underdog. You always want to see the underdog win.
Why don't they, is it a stupid question. I've lived here for long enough. I shouldn't know the answer. Why don't they do that at the high school level?
What?
Like a bracketed thing like that where you have all the teams come together and play.
They used to, but now they've separated it into classes.
But they didn't used to have a class system.
They did not used to have a class
So
system.
you could be from some small town and win it all.
Yep, that's the whole Hoosiers movie.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I didn't know why they.
Yep, why they did it because that only happens once in a decade.
And that was the argument against it was that
Century probably, not decade. Yeah.
is that you had like 5 or 6 schools that just won it every year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like the Caramels or whatever.
Right.
And they changed the rules even more, so that if you won state
in your smaller class, then
if you like one state or if you got to a certain level over a certain period of time, like 2 or 3 years, they bumped you up to another class.
Yeah.
And that happened to Garen, and they bumped up a class and kind of weren't great, and then they
bumped it back down. Yeah.
When you weren't competing. So it's fluid.
Yeah.
So it's weird. So yeah. Good basketball.
Anyway.
Good
So
to see it
good.
come
I'm
back.
glad to see that happening for those student athletes because
Where the like the Sweet 16? Is it all in Indiana?
it's all at, I think they played some games at Purdue, some games at IU, some games at the field house.
But everything is here.
Right, Harrison? Isn't that right? I feel like that's right. But everything's in Indiana.
This year?
Yeah. They have a couple of courts set up in, you know what I mean, where they're playing now.
Right.
So, anyway, they're using like multiple venues, I think.
That's cool.
They put a lot of time and planning into it. So it seems like it's working out pretty well.
I'm watching this show on Netflix, called F1, the Drive for something, or I forget the name of it. But it's about the F1 series, Formula One series, and it's talking about COVID there too, and they can't do autographs, can't do anything. They're like, I can't touch anything. It's so funny though, because it must have been when it first started.
Yeah.
Because they're not wearing masks, but they're saying, I can't. So people are like, can I get your autograph? They're like, I can't touch anything. I can't. It's like, well, it's so funny how this has evolved.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm so glad to see that back though. I think it's one more step toward, or the basketball, one more step toward getting things back to normal, and letting the kids enjoy that period and that challenge and the competition and all that.
So, do you have anything else to add for this week?
Well, Calvin, we took a trip to Tennessee this past weekend, and a lot of funny events happened that weekend, or this weekend. But Calvin and I, the day before we left, went down and we were fishing, and he said he was down there fishing, and he goes, "Dad," it's so funny. He had an old rod and reel, a button caster, and it had a bass frog on it, lure. So he's out there casting. He's doing pretty good, casting, reeling in. His dad, they're not biting. It's like been there 2 minutes. Fishing is about patience. So
right.
Patience and Calvin don't always mix.
Right, exactly.
So anyway, we were down there, and I was just messing. I was like, we're not going to catch things. It's too cold, whatever. But so we had worms, so I put a worm rig on there for him, and we were fishing out on the end of the dock where I thought, you might get some action. And this is what's so exciting about fishing, is that we were about to go in, and because you guys were down, and we were just down there hanging out, and we go to the one edge of the dock, and I put it in, I adjusted it because it was really deep, and I adjusted it so it was a bit more shallow. And he sat there and he was watching. I go, just watch. I was like, nothing's gonna happen, And he goes, Dad, something grab it. I was like, what? And I pulled it up, and half the worm was gone. I was like, oh, really? Okay, so they are biting. So we rigged it up a little bit, and it floated over. And I was teaching him. I was like, when that bobber, watch it, because when it's moving, not on its own,
right,
they're playing with it, and I said,
right.
They'll strip it. And that actually happened. They were playing with it, and then it stopped. I was like, let's pull up our hook. I bet they stole the bait, and they did. So the first time I was trying to show him when to pull it.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled it, and then we caught a largemouth bass, a baby one. And I think Harrison's got a pic. Yeah, that one right there. We caught that one, but that was technically me who pulled it out. But he was so excited. So we re-rigged it back up, and I showed him how to take the hook out and everything. And he caught on his own that little bluegill there.
Yeah,
and he's just so excited. The freaking bluegill.
Very excited. He was
holding it like this, and I go, no, you're supposed to hold it like that with, so you can see the fish.
His willingness though to handle the fish, he was not afraid of the fish.
No,
I thought
what if it bites me? It's like, it's not gonna bite you.
I thought for sure he would not want to hold the fish.
Right.
He grabbed that sucker right away.
Yeah, he surprises me with how willing he is to do certain things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the second fish he's ever caught, and it was kind of cool because that's a neat little place to just fish and mess around. It's quiet.
Yeah.
If you get something, great. If not, and those little fish are always looking for, a quick whatever. So, yeah, it was funny. I was glad that he got to do that and kind of get that fire underneath him. So yeah, can't wait to take him back and do some more.
Now the bug has bit him, so now he's ready he wants to go back to go fishing again.
Yeah. Oh, and football.
Oh God.
We threw the football. He got it. There was a football there, and he goes, "Let's play football." And
okay.
And he goes, "I'm really good at football."
That's what he comes in. He goes, "I am so good at this.
I'm really good, Dad. I should play in tournaments." I was like, "Yeah, I don't think you should."
And he's like,
killed.
"I am." He goes, "I'm really good at this." And I was like, "Okay, well, catching the football out in the yard is different than."
He goes, "I need gloves."
He goes, now he's like, "I need some gloves." Because that why I dropped those couple, it's probably because I didn't have any gloves. And I was like, no, that's really not why you dropped those.
Because your hands didn't make contact with the ball.
But he was much more, every the weather was so nice, so we were
Right.
outside all the time. Every time, can I throw the football? Can I throw the football? Can I throw the? We threw the football so much that our arms actually hurt.
His arm hurt.
And his arm hurt.
He goes, it hurts when I do this. I'm yeah, because you overdid it.
He's like, my arm hurts right about here when I bend it. I was like, yeah, because you were like chucking it from, 30 yards away, trying to
It was fun.
throw it as hard as you
it
can.
was cute
So
to take him. It was cute to take him and go do that. And we went to Walmart what day to buy another football and some other stuff, and it was cool. He got a little like a little mini football. But yeah, it was cool.
When me and Madeline came over last night for dinner, I was told that he had a lot of fun with football at Lake House. I was like, let's go out and play football. And so I was throwing it with him, and he kept dropping it, and it hit him like somewhere in the chest.
Like, oh,
He started walking up. He was like, Harrison, I don't want to throw the football anymore. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you just said you really wanted to. He was like, no, I don't want to anymore. So he picked up the Frisbee instead, and he was throwing it with his left hand, but he wasn't throwing it that well. And I was like, well, why don't you switch to your right hand? And he switched to his right hand, and he was flinging it across the yard
really?
like a proper throw that was pretty good. Yeah, it was very funny.
that's
Oh,
so
gosh.
weird. But you were like that. It's so
Yep.
funny because I
Harrison
remember
was just like that too.
I never even thought about it. And then we were at my grandparents' house. He was little, maybe 2. It was in the summer, and he had a little plastic bat, and my grandfather was tossing the ball. He goes, "He's lefty," and I go, "No, I swear he's right-handed, but he hits left."
Yep.
And he hit left. He plays his guitar left.
But then right.
Right, he's right-handed, but then
Yeah.
swings golf clubs left. It's so interesting. Maybe Calvin's like that too.
Yeah.
I have a very funny story before we end the podcast.
Okay.
No, well, yeah, it's funny. So over the weekend, I put up shelves, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Okay, correct.
In his office.
And in my office, yes.
Oh,
right?
nice.
So
Do you have a name tag on the door? It says Harrison King.
These are my pictures.
Owner extraordinaire.
These are my shelves. Put up the TV as well. Whatever. So, in doing this, I had to rearrange some stuff. Okay, and hello. When I rearranged this stuff, I had to take some stuff. Here we go. I had to take some stuff off off of my shelves in my office and place them somewhere else. And so hopefully Madeline says a bad word in here, but I'll mute it when she does. But here we go. Ready? All right. Let me turn on the desktop audio.
Okay.
This is a really cute picture. I love this picture of me and you.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Okay. It used to be right here, though, right? On your nightstand. And I was.
Oh! What are you trying to put there?
Yeah.
Well, she didn't like that you moved the picture.
No.
No,
she-
it
she-
replaced it. He replaced it with a picture of his
Oh.
friend.
You know it's
So-
important,
He
right?
takes that
this-
picture,
so-
that really cute picture of him and Madeline, and that was on his nightstand.
this picture was on my nightstand, and I didn't think anything of it. I mean, I didn't.
I wouldn't think anything of it either.
I didn't replace it. I just removed it essentially, and I need somewhere to put that picture because it was on my lower part of my desk, and I put a retro console of mine there, and so she she found out, and she just
Yeah. Okay. It used to be, though, right? On your nightstand. I was by the John G.
See, what you
It's all
could've
red
done-
face.
see, her point is that you moved the picture. You could have put the John G picture over there on that bench and left the picture of you and her there. So in theory, you moved it.
no, I
I
know.
thought I
It's-
taught you better than that, son.
It's so funny though. That's why I came in laughing so hard because I just thought it was hilarious.
Oh my gosh,
It is funny that I remember
that's
years
hilarious.
ago, and then we lived in South Bend. I had scheduled something. I'd scheduled like some Salvation volunteer thing. I go, yeah, I'm going to do it for Christmas on the 23rd. And you go, you can't do it on the 23rd. I go, why? Why can't I do it on the 23rd? And she goes, you can't do it on the 23rd. And after coming, I was like, oh, that's our anniversary. Got it. Sorry. Whew. Dodgeable on that one.
Oh gosh, that's too cute. Too cute. Too cute. Oh goodness.
That's great though. It's good that that's good. Those memories are cool.
That is pretty funny.
Real quick though, can I just tell you something? You have got to get a padlock for that door, bro. I'm telling you, little kids, that is, what do they call that? The legal principle, attractive nuisance or attractive something like water. Like you have to put fences around like bodies of water because the kid will be attracted to it and you'll go and fall
And
into
then
it and
die.
die. And they're like, it's not our fault. It's like, you needed to. So be proactive and put a couple padlocks on that because that stuff will last about 2 seconds. A
Yep.
toddler or a 5-year-old will go, this stuff is really cool. Whoops.
Whoopsie daisies.
Break.
Yeah, like on Sandlot where he takes the baseball. Out
Baseball,
of, yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's cool that you have your own space there.
Let's not tell Madeline that I showed that video.
Okay.
She's gonna see it. I'm sure
She's not gonna know.
She'll know. She'll know.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, that's funny. So funny. What were you guys doing last night that was so funny? Oh, you're racing on the skateboards. Do you remember that? You were on the skateboard and Calvin was on his and Harrison was riding the skateboard. It was like you were gonna biff so hard on the skateboard. Oh, you're trying to ollie. That's what you're trying to do. He goes, I can't ollie. I can't do it. Madeline's like, what is how do you do that? And Harrison's like, well, you put your foot back like this, and then I bring this foot up. It's like I told her, I was like, I can't do it. I could never learn how to do it.
Yeah, and then once you get big enough and weigh enough and can
Yeah, it's
fall
like all the kids
far
that
enough,
all
it
the
really
kids that I
hurts.
knew that could do it growing up were like 90 pounds and had pineapple haircuts and all kinds of stupid stuff. So
Not sure what a pineapple haircut is, but
where your hair is really long in the front and short in the back. And the dudes would walk around like that, keep the hair out of their eyes. Don't you remember that?
oh my god, that's hilarious. That's a pineapple, all right.
No, they would cut it, and some dudes would like cut it, and they would cut it at an angle, so it was like,
It was Justin Bieber.
oh, it's not Bieber. What is that? A rat?
That's a rat.
You know what's
Oh,
so funny is
God.
growing up, a bunch of dudes had rat tails, and I even as a kid, I was like, that is the ugliest thing ever.
That is creepy. Okay, well, we'll close out on that note.
On what? Rat tails?
That creepy picture of the rat's tail.
I looked that up. I couldn't find. So maybe it was. Madeline said, "What is that?" And I said, have you seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?" And she said, "I think I have." And I said, "River Phoenix in the beginning of the movie. It's set in like the 30s or the 20s or something, but there's a scene where his hair was really long, like almost down to his chin in the front." And I said, "That's what those haircuts were. They were
my
really
God.
long in front, and they,
Very annoying, I'm sure.
yeah,
So that's
never
why
had
they
that.
walked around like this.
like that, so I could see out of one eye, like you do."
Oh gosh.
I never could
too
do my hair to
funny.
do that. Not that I ever wanted to, but it'd just be one big puff of fro up here.
Oh gosh.
So anyway, yeah.
Oh goodness. Okay, do you have anything else before we close?
I don't think so. I think we're set.
Harrison, you're good? Okay, everybody. Well, we're here again most Mondays, late
Most
morning.
Mondays, yep.
And you can catch us out on any of the podcast channels.
Mhm.
And yeah, don't forget to check out the merch store, asvcmerch.com. I'm Emily King
I'm Richie King.
and Harrison behind the ones and twos. And we will see you next Monday for another episode of Five Boys in a Business. Bye, everybody.
We're out.